What up, YouTube Digital? Alright, these 99% dumb fucks who actually are 99% of the stupidest fucking people known to man. The bailouts. People didn't like them. Most of them were loans. Most of them weren't. People need to understand that the banks really had nothing to do with it. But since people don't know how any of this shit works, they like to come up with some fucking villain. You know, oh, it's the bank CEOs. Oh, it's this person. Oh, it's that person. In reality, it had to deal with more private Americans than anything else. I know a lot of people that got fucked in this whole damn thing. And not one of them I can point back and say it was a CEO or a bank. Independent mortgage broker, yeah. Inspectors, yeah. Clinton, yeah. Not a bank. Now let's look at it, and I've made this video before, and you know, I know some people kind of figured out a few things, but Clinton signed in the equal housing. Well, actually Carter did, but Clinton re-signed it, lowered the the credit needed to get a first time or VA, any of those government backed, any of those Freddie Mae, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, any of those government loans. The one thing about those government loans that people don't understand, the thing that makes them special, the reason why banks will loan money out to people like that is because the government is setting the terms and the government is co-signing. They're on the hook if you don't pay. Now, Clinton lowered the qualifications. See a problem there? This is what started the whole housing boom to begin with, because it allowed people that were naturally about the end of the 90s, you know, getting rid of their first house, going to their second house. Then there started to be a trend of people able to get rid of their houses rather quickly and starting to see a pretty decent profit because Clinton signed in this deal. Now, people think it's a no-doc loan problem. Loans that were made with no docs. It means absolutely shit. Those only came into play with people that had good credit. That history of good credit, okay? You don't get a no-doc loan because you got a 600 credit score. It really means absolutely shit, because if you pull a copy of your credit report, they're basing off the information from right there. So if you got an 800 credit score, a 750 or whatever, why would your information not be there? I mean, it has nothing to do with no doc. What it has to do with is a lot of people getting caught up in flipping. Flipping is not a normal real estate type of investment. People do it. It's been around since day one, but it does not replace long term. It never will. Flipping only works in certain markets when it's a seller's market. And the bad thing about flipping is it just has this proved. It raises houses, the cost of housing through the roof. It gives people a bunch of shitty houses because most of the flips were crap. Most of them were crap. So people are buying bad houses. People with no doc loans didn't have to get inspections, so they were getting huge problems. People won't even get into that. So they're getting a house that could be a fucking lemon and they had no idea. Because, oh, it looked pretty because they had Pergo. Oh. So they fucked up the market to start with Clinton's help. Then when it became really kind of tough because pricing got way up there and they needed the market to have, see, the real estate guys and the mortgage people needed more houses to sell. So they were going around trying to get people to upgrade their houses to get their second or third, house, get a bigger one and all this stuff. And to maximize their profit, because they knew this was going to fall apart, they tried anything they could to get them the biggest, baddest motherfucking house they possibly could. They were taking loans from banks, and the banks weren't loaning out 100% loans on these houses. People don't know that because they've never had a house loan. The banks were only loaning maybe 60% on a house. And you had to qualify with the bank's qualifications. And if you've ever pulled a loan through a bank, it's the hardest place to pull a loan. Okay, a second or a third tier lender is a hell of a lot easier to pull a loan than a bank. So you only got 60%. You had to prove everything unless you had a almost perfect credit score, and it means absolutely dick, because you still had to have money. Okay, then these mortgage brokers found ways to twist rules, legally twist rules, where they were qualifying you with the bank, and then usually the bank then never wanted to see 100% financing, but they were able to satisfy the bank, and then they turn around and used silent seconds and all this other bullshit from the cities and in states and all this other bullshit. They use equity funds, equity funding people to write some bullshit and all this stuff to get everybody 100%. Matter of fact, people not only got 100%, there's people like me that I engineered myself. I got back $2,000. I think it was $2,000. It was $1,500, $2,000, in a form of, because it couldn't be cash because I had a first-time buyer's loan. So I said, okay, it didn't have to be cash. That's fine. It could be a Home Depot card. So I got a $1,500 or $2,000 Home Depot card. I engineered myself. It was fucking priceless because I wanted to figure out how these fuckers were doing it. So I figured it out for me. But there came a problem. Most of these second and third loans were they weren't conventional loans. Some of them with the cities were silent, meaning that you didn't have to make a payment unless you sold the house or something like that. Some of them would allow you to, make payments at very little interest, and then it went to adjustable or had a balloon. So people got in these houses thinking, hey, cool. And then after 4 or 5 years, the APR shot through the roof, or they needed a balloon payment and they had no money because they were stretched so thin. There you go. There's where the housing thing is. Oh, and the first time housing ones, most of those houses were shit and everything else. But no, the banks weren't really involved. If the CEO wants to make money in a bank, he picks up this thing, okay? He says, put a 5-cent tariff on every ATM transaction. And then he calls his buddies at the other banks and has them do the same thing so you don't switch banks over it. And they do shit like that. Banks do not make that much money on loans anymore. That's why they are so picky on their loans. They make money on fees. Same with credit card companies. They make a bulk of their money on fees, not the money you actually loan. But yeah, the real villains were flippers. Most of the houses were shit. They were crap with the little fake facade on there. Independent mortgage brokers that were packaging up loans that should have been criminal. They were so fucking bullshit. Clinton played a huge part in it. to generate this whole cash machine to begin with. Inspectors signing off on houses for a fee. That's how I got fucked. And just people's greed. I got approved for $550 and I did not spend anything close to that because I wasn't an idiot. So I'm sorry, Americans that bought into it have more to do with it than any bank CEO. But anywho, good thing for people going to school and shit to have a brain or something. I don't know. Peace.